Welcome to the New Discovery Christian Podcast, where you'll find Bible messaging and sermons that will encourage, uplift, and challenge you to a godlier life. Join our community and become inspired to continue living a God-directed life.
Welcome again to the New Discovery Podcast here in Hernando. A very rainy and a very cold day today. But one thing that is not rainy and one thing that is not cold is this Christmas season. And today we're going to have our pastor, John Wagnon, as our guest today talking on the podcast. And we're going to talk about what sometimes a conversation that we have going back and forth about this Christmas season, holiday season, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and some other different topics that have to do with what is this season actually about? What should we be thinking of as Christians? What should we be valuing during this season? And we're going to talk with John today. He's a lot older than me, Javen, and Zach, and I think he's going to have a better perspective within where this all started and kind of what's happened in the past, where we are now, and what we should be thinking also about this season, whether other people think it or not, and what we should value. So here he is, Pastor John Wagnon today. So
nice to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you on finally. We always have these kind of conversations already when we go to Starbucks and get some coffee at Big Muddy's or wherever we're at. So I guess we're just doing it with a video camera on us today, and guess it'll be on YouTube eventually. So yeah, I like it. So John, what do you think just initially when you hear about happy holidays and when people are talking about Christmas and the presents and the consumerism but our faith? What do you kind of think of initially about all of that?
Well, let me start by saying I like Christmas, and I've always liked Christmas.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a little kid. I like everything, the Christmas trees, the lights, the cookies, just the festive mood. I love all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm not an anti-Christmas guy. I'm not a Grinch or anything like that. So I love Christmas. But I do think it can lose its meaning if we allow it to.
Yeah.
The meaning of celebrating the birth of Christ. If we're not careful, we can get so caught up in all the other stuff that we forget what it's all about. If you'll remember, a few weeks ago, I had a sermon where I mentioned how I've noticed over the last few years, church attendance goes down in December, the very month where we're supposed to be focused on the birth of Christ and celebrating his coming into this world, God with us, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
And it seems like people are so caught up and so distracted that they're forgetting to even come to church because they're busy doing all the other things. And that's a sign of, I think, people losing their focus. Now, having said that, I don't think Christmas, it's not mandatory in Scripture that we even celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, and in fact, I was shocked when I learned this. I think it was the Pilgrims that even outlawed Christmas at one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
it wasn't the exact date
actually,
or something.
The celebration of that particular time was pagan in origin and all that
the
stuff.
winter solstice, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that? Yeah.
So there was a time where people weren't even celebrating it. And we're not told we have to celebrate it, but I like to take the holiday and use it to point people to Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's where I am on it. I celebrate Jesus all the time anyway.
Right.
Every time I come to church, I'm celebrating his birth and his life and his death and burial, resurrection, all of it. But I think it's a unique time for us as Christians to point people to Jesus. That's why I like to tell people, when you put a stamp on that card or on that letter, try to find something that has something to do with Christ, his birth, and when you send people a card, try to have something to do with the nativity scene, the wise men, something. Just don't let everything be about Frosty and Rudolph and Santa. And again, I don't have anything against those guys,
right.
But I just think we have a unique time to remind people about Jesus. It's kind of like when Paul was in Athens and he took them to the altar to the unknown God.
Oh, yeah.
Said, even though that was pagan, he said, he just kind of took it over. So he used that, said, I'm going to tell you about this, and I'm going to tell you about this God. So he kind of took something that wasn't Christian and use it to point them to Christ. And I think that's what we should do with the Christmas holiday, even though it pagan origins of the date and all that stuff. We could just kind of take it over and use it to point people to Jesus. So I am against people letting things crowd the Jesus out of the holiday that celebrates his birth.
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of bugs me. And I do think over the years the commercialism has crept in more than, say, in the past. Because I remember when I was growing up, if I'm not mistaken, the department stores were closed on Sunday.
I think my mom and dad had mentioned that before.
So there wasn't a whole lot of shopping going on Sunday. And I don't even remember hearing the term Black Friday. I mean, I haven't even hear that. I don't know when that got started, but it seems like also we're skipping Thanksgiving. It's like right after Halloween, goes straight to Christmas. Yeah. And that kind of bugs me too, because we need to be thankful.
And nowadays, I always bring up that when I worked at Sports Authority, I think it was the second year that I worked there, they're doing it. They're now opening on Thursday night now. And I remember having to tell my mom that we can't have a Christmas dinner around 6 o'clock. What could we always do? Because my boss said, if you don't show up, you're fired. And like, what am I supposed to do then? So it's like, I mean, you're going to get fired. So now you have to choose between your job and family time. That you're not being forced under a gun to do it, but your job and security is on the line of family time versus consumerism. I mean, that's really what it is. And is that fair? I mean, like, where are we headed with all of that? Is everything about consumerism? I mean, we have very few times around the table now, and now we want to take the one time that's maybe guaranteed away.
Yeah, I really love that about Christmas. It's a time where family gets together and shares a meal, and it's a special time. I do like that. And we drive hundreds of miles to be together, or fly or whatever. So I do like that aspect of it. And it is sad when people have to be at work and they can't be with their family. So
right. And now jobs are not just only not helping too much with the days off. It's like there's a push it's kind of like, nah, we want you in work. It's about money. It's about the bottom line. And there doesn't seem to be a respect where there was in the past of those dates being sacred. It doesn't seem like it's sacred, or nor is the family sacred. And it seems like our culture in general is just another way where let's just give it to the family again. And most people don't sit at the dinner table every night, where that was a nice tradition that people would agree to. And that's kind of gone out the door. And it seems like, here we are again. But those times where you come together, it's like, nah, it's not really that important. The presents and the money and
but as long as we keep giving gifts, there's going to be people coming around. They're going to come to get those gifts. So that's a good thing.
That's true.
And when you're giving the gifts, you can incorporate some Jesus talk in there. One of the things we like to do at my house on Christmas morning is read from Luke chapter 2.
Yeah.
Before we open the presents, and then just as a reminder that it's really about God's gift to us and Jesus. There's ways to fit stuff like that in. That's what I like about Christmas so much. Just the whole giving to others as God gave to us.
Yeah.
Being together in community. God wants us together in community. God loves the family, and it's a family time. So there's lots of good, positive things that go along with Christmas.
For God so loved, he gave.
Yeah. But if we're not careful, we can get totally distracted and lose all the meaning altogether. If all it becomes is how much stuff can I go out and buy, or how much stuff can I acquire. It's not really it's not about stuff,
There's a couple of people that I talked to recently where I was asking them how their Christmas season was going, and you could just see the stress in their eyes, and just so much going on in this season right now. It's so stressful, and so I'm just all over the place, and the family's all over the place, and getting presents and going here and going there. And I was like, you seem burdened during this Christmas season. It doesn't seem to be about, let's spend some time. It's all about going here, going there, vacation here, vacation there, and family coming in here, and so much traveling. And it's seen as like work to get the presents, wrap the presents. And I was kind of just amazed, just not kicking back with some of the Christmas songs, or enjoying some time at church with my family. I got a little time off from work, and it's it's like, no, it's like this season is a burden of what's going on. And it seems to be an attachment to a lot of that consumerism, what presents, wrapping them and getting them. And I was like, man, that sounds almost like a bad Christmas season. I mean, but it doesn't sound, most people I talk to, it seems like that's becoming the normal thing, not the sitting back and enjoying it. Jesus, God gave his son to us, finding time to spend time with the family. It doesn't seem like that's the focus, though.
Right.
I mean,
one of the things we try to do as a family is we try to do activities that have something to do with the birth of Christ.
What kind of activities?
Well, one of the things we like to do every year is go to a live nativity scene they have here in town. Of course, our church sometimes does a live nativity scene, and we're involved in that. But there's a nice one here in town where they have live camels and all that stuff.
That's right.
Live animals and everything.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So we do try to do that every year. That's a way to remind us of what it's all about. We try to go to singing Christmas trees or maybe one, maybe more. Different musical things that remind us of Christmas. We here at the church, we have the candlelight service, and that's another way for people to be reminded. So I just would want to encourage people to try to incorporate things into your Christmas season that reminds you of Christ, and try not to allow yourself to get distracted away from that, because that's, I think, when the joy starts to subside and Christmas blues set in, and a lot of times it's a very sad time for people because they remember past loved ones that aren't there.
Yeah.
But if we focus on Jesus and the hope he brings and the joy that he provides, it'll help us have a better Christmas. A real Merry Christmas.
Yeah. What do you also think about some of those people who get wrapped up into the consumerism? What do you think they can maybe do when it comes to not being so wrapped up into the work of getting the presents and wrapping the presents? Is there a way where some of that burden can be taken care of or lessened, not so intense with getting the presents, wrapping the presents, worrying about the family? Are we going... Is it too many presents that we're getting, or are we too focused on the presents themselves, and what they are?
It could depend on the size of the family.
Yeah,
big family and everybody expects something. You could wear yourself out.
Yeah,
maybe
they could.
I mean, in my family growing up, I think we used to draw names, and if you drew a person's name, that's who you got the present for, and that way you didn't have to get everybody a present.
Oh wow!
And then we would all gather together and go around the room as people open their presents. I'd slow it down, and that way you wouldn't have to buy as much or be as busy. But maybe people buying stuff online has maybe helped too, as far as having to get out in the traffic and stand in line for lots of time and shop and look. You can set it home on your computer and click on whatever you like and have it sent right to you. And
that's what I did, honestly. And one day I ordered all my presents for the entire season. So I was like, okay, no, I don't have to worry about
maybe
it.
technology could cut down on the hustle and bustle a little bit. I hope it does.
Yeah, I like how you brought up about you don't have to get that many presents for the family if it's a big. I mean, when we get gifts, you're not supposed to expect anything because it's a gift, and it seems like if the expectations are high for gifts, it doesn't sound like it's a gift anymore.
Believe me, people expect gifts.
Yeah, but how much it costs, like what it is. I mean, does the kid have to have a plasma screen television with his Xbox One if you're in debt? I mean,
or the latest iPhone or anything, so.
And you got 4 kids and you're just dishing it out and you're going further in debt, maybe with a couple grand. Maybe that doesn't have to happen.
That's a whole nother topic, debt. And a lot of people go further in debt at Christmas. That would definitely be something I would caution people about.
That's what I wanted to kind of bring up is some people can go in debt in this season, and that just adds stress every time Christmas comes up. I've heard that before. I'm stressing when Christmas comes up. It's
probably going to add some stress after Christmas for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think isn't it like financial problems like one of the top like marriage issues, and then maybe this even contributes in the Christmas season to more fights, more arguments about presents and who gets presents and what and how much money, and where it's not a very merry Christmas anymore at this point. It's fighting. Kids even are maybe scared during that season because they know mom and dad are going to fight about finances, and then maybe they get that plasma screen television, that kid. But at what cost from all the fighting and strife and heartache? And
it's no doubt a stressor, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
What Scripture say, the borrower is servant to the lender.
Yeah.
So debt is a form of bondage. It kind of goes against the whole Christmas spirit to enter into bondage during a time where Christ came to set people free.
People free. Yeah, we're almost doing the opposite.
That's a new little twist on things, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way, John.
That'll cut out on some joy.
Yeah, instead of remembering being free, we've put ourselves further in debt bondage instead.
It kind of goes against the spirit of Christmas, if you think about it.
I didn't think about it like that. Oh, gosh. But I like how you said that maybe it doesn't have to be a whole lot of gifts, and maybe it's you got enough gifts for everyone. You said they draw straws?
You draw names.
Draw names.
Just put everybody's name in a hat in your family, and everybody draw a name out, and that's who you get the gift for.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to get less gifts that way.
Yeah.
But the family will be spending less money, maybe not have to incur so much debt.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it does seem to be implied that the wise men seemed to only brought one present for each of them, whatever number it was.
Yeah, we don't know how many wise men there were.
But it doesn't seem like they brought 30 presents for Jesus each. It seems like they kind of brought maybe one or two, depending on how many it was. And these guys seem to be kind of loaded too. So, they didn't just go crazy bringing Jesus presents.
I'm sure it was a nice gift.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it sounds like, they spent a little money on it. But, some families could put down just, one kid just has, 30, 40 presents and just so much money and DVDs and games and Xboxes, and then, at what cost during that season. But I like that name drawing, because I know my parents brought up that maybe there won't be a whole lot this year necessarily, but what I told them is, well, I'm not really expecting anything, because it's whatever you give is a gift, and whether that's 1 or 100, that's kind of up to you, because who am I to expect something as a gift? Because a gift is not really expected what it is or how much it costs, because that's a very privileged mindset to be having of, I expect this, it has to be this, or this amount of money, because it's not about that.
Right.
It's just the fact that you actually thought of me and got a gift, and you maybe thought it through a little bit. I mean, you could have painted something, and as long as you were thinking of me, I think that's the point, though. And then we can get closer by that, because you were just thinking of me, whether it was a lot of money or it was a couple dollars. I mean, it shouldn't really matter, because it's not about the present necessarily. It's about the whole season of giving and thinking of each other, rather than that plasma screen television under there or something like that, where, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. But you're not, but again, you're thinking of that, not the family or getting together and that season,
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just something that I kind of thought about, that we can be very scary for us to get into, that mindset of just expectations and raising the bar.
It does seem like a time of materialism.
Yeah.
We kind of need to get it back to spirituality.
Yeah.
And focusing on Jesus and his birth.
Yeah, I think that's good. And one thing that we did at Thanksgiving, because you were talking about different things that you guys do at Christmas. Like, I know for Thanksgiving, we got to sit down and play Pictionary afterwards, and it was really good. Like, we got to sit down for dinner at the table, but then we got to play that afterwards, and we were all together. And then my brother even invited a couple friends over, and they got to be included in that. I don't know whether they didn't have a place or not, but they may not have, and that was a place for them to be and then grow closer, instead of going out immediately for Black Friday sales on Thursday, and just, we got to think of, all this money and consumerism, it was like, let's put that off. Let's do this and have a little fun with each other and kind of bond a bit. Like, that was very, very refreshing to me, the fact that we got to do that. And that doesn't seem like to be a normal thing. It's just, we had dinner. We did it. We checked it. Let me go upstairs and play some Xbox. Or go turn the game on or something like that.
That's the one I have to watch.
The game?
Yeah.
Xbox is one I need to watch.
Yeah.
So I think we all have our
we all have our distractions.
Yeah. And it just seems
needs
like
to
we
be
have
some
more.
balance.
Yeah, some balance. Yeah. I think that's kind of what all of this is that we kind of talked about. A lot of distractions during the season. Even the gifts can be distractions, and the wrappings can be distractions. The amount of money.
I mean, even in the wrapping paper, you could use wrapping paper that depicts Christ's birth. You could. At our house, even on our Christmas tree, we try to have spiritual things on the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And we put up decorations that are spiritual, that remind us of the birth of Christ.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of Frosties and Rudolphs. There's a few Santas around. But, Santa, St. Nicholas was a real guy.
Yeah.
Who cared about poor people, especially children. And, of course, you can say he was a real guy.
Yeah.
And then what I like to do is say, I wonder who influenced St. Nicholas. Wonder who taught him. Where did he get these ideas about caring for the poor and caring for children? So you can take them to Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take Santa to Jesus.
Where do you get the idea of it's better to give than to receive?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's another mindset.
This time of year is loaded with opportunities for us to point people to Jesus, but we have to do it.
Yeah.
We can't allow ourselves to get all caught up in all the commercialism and consumerism and materialism.
Yeah.
We just need to keep our perspective. I'm not saying don't enjoy the season and those things, but that shouldn't be what dominates our thoughts.
Yeah.
And even our time, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's time too.
Certainly not a time to start skipping out on church and not, because you got to go shop or whatever.
Right. And there's another opportunity where you get to, bond with people that we just want to sacrifice, or, again, sacrificing Thanksgiving or those dinners. It just seems like that's what's being sacrificed, not the presents and the consumerism. And it's like we're choosing the wrong sacrifice. The focus is kind of towards the consumerism. Yeah. Yeah, this is good, John. Is there anything else you can really think of? That was kind of the main things, consumerism, remembering Jesus during this time. And, as a Christian, we value that. And, man, any type of reminder we can get of that and family time, and those things are really important during this season, and getting off to consumerism. But
I'll just encourage moms and dads especially to be mindful that your children are watching you. And how you celebrate Christmas and what you're focusing on. And if they see you just kind of having a nonchalant attitude about church and church attendance and candlelight services and, live nativities, and none of this stuff matters to you, well, they're going to pick up on that, and they're going to not value it. Probably not going to value it either if you don't.
Right.
So they need to see you valuing Jesus and his birth.
Right.
And so don't let them just see you being a consumer or a materialistic person, or a person that just has a material, worldly focus, not a Christ focus.
That's good. I like it. All right. Thank you for joining me and John on this holiday special podcast today. And, me and John, I think this was a really good conversation. I think I got something out of this conversation as well about this Christmas season, because it's very easy to get trapped in like that. And, we hope that you guys have a Merry Christmas and the time to spend with each other, and remember Christ during this season, and to think more of along the lines of it's better to give than receive during the season, whether that's a little or a lot, but to think outward during the season and family time. So thank you again from us, from New Discovery, and we'll see you next time, more than likely this next coming year. See you guys.
Merry Christmas.